During the NFL bye week, Sean Payton addressed two major problem areas. And yes, it is confirmed. I do believe the Denver Broncos are fixing these major problem areas ahead of their Commanders game and down the stretch of the 2025 season. Welcome in Broncos country to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, what are those problem areas that Sean Payton is talking about? The two areas that he's mentioning. The penalty equation is what he called it. He said it is a must change. And he highlighted the importance of figuring out the turnover margin. So on this episode, we're going to break down everything from the penalty equation to the importance of figuring out the turnover margin. And that is why you hit subscribe. Make sure you join the ever-growing family of Denver Broncos fans right here on the Broncos Breakdown. So during this bye-week change, Sean Payton called it a self-scouting reflection period. So essentially what happened was the Denver Broncos got to their facility on Monday, and they broke down all of the film by Sean Payton. This is the two areas that he said we need to focus on heavily down the stretch of the 2025 season because seeding is now what we're playing for. Obviously, they're trying to get that number one overall seed. This is also incredibly smart by him. And I'm sure you're wondering to yourself as well, Moose, isn't that what watching film is for every single week? Yes, but if you think about it, there's a certain amount of game planning that goes into your opponent. So a bunch of time gets taken away from your ability to fix whatever it is your problem is rather than preparing for the game against the upcoming opponent. That's why the bye week is so important. You don't have anybody to scout for. You don't have anybody to prep for. It's just you against the tape of yourself. And Clutch Points has insider information from Denver Broncos sources around the locker room that said this is what happened at Mile High. Cleaning up the flags was priority number one in the meetings on Monday, talking about last Monday. And improving the turnover margin was right behind it as another major emphasis for the locker room. That message fits the broader arc of what Payton is building. Then they start talking a little bit about Davis Webb. And they said Webb's reputation as a meticulous, detail-obsessed passer turned coach meshes with the head coach, who is now publicly demanding fewer self-inflicted wounds from an offense that has already proved it can move the ball. Translation, it is sloppy from a technical standpoint, from a play, not a play design standpoint, but from an operational standpoint. There are things they need to clean up pre-snap as well as during the play so that they don't get penalized anymore, if that makes sense. The Broncos, by the way, have racked up 10 penalties for 147 yards against the Chiefs this year. Only played them one time. That's unacceptable. Now, granted, is every single one of those penalties an actual penalty? Of course not. The Chiefs constantly get calls. You saw it against the Colts as well. And that's exactly why I believe they kind of won that game, is because they got a big helping hand from the refs. But the Broncos have had a penalty problem. So it's not like every single penalty is just, what the hell was that call? Because if you take a look at the numbers, this was going into the bye week. The Broncos are 93 penalties deep. That's first in the NFL, or was first. Penalty yards, they were first. Pre-stat penalties, they were 8th. Away penalties, 7th. And those are not good numbers, by the way. They're first, meaning they're top of the league in that category. So the Broncos clearly, from a pre-snap perspective, have to get things cleaned up. And I think that's exactly what they probably are working on this week leading up against the Washington Commanders. We do know that it's a priority for the players as well. It's not just Sean Payton. Riley Moss was the first one to come out and say, I need to be better. And I think Riley Moss has been very, very good at points during the season. There's been times when Riley Moss has been, a head scratcher, a big, roll your eyes moment because he gives up those big plays every now and then. But for the most part, even since Pat Surtain has been out, Riley Moss has been really, really good. But just before the bye week started, Riley said this about his own penalty problem. In practice, it's going to be a big emphasis for me. We are going to put on the boxing gloves, maybe literally. We're going to tape them up so there's no chance that I get grabby. It's a repetitive thing with me. People can have their opinion on it, but me as a professional athlete, I need to be able to realize that, okay, this has happened multiple times. I need to fix it. And listen, I absolutely will own up to the last one, talking about that massive pass interference call against the Chiefs at the very end of the game, the underthrown one. I can't be grabbing him like that. It's tough. It's already a tough position, and I have to be better in those situations and just play the ball. I don't know about you. The Broncos feel locked into me right now. Like, I think, you can get complacent during the bye week. I think it's a very easy thing to fall into the, hey, we're 9-2. We're on top of the world. It's cloud 9, baby. We're feeling great. Nice little rest and relaxation. It sounds like the Broncos did the exact opposite of that. It's almost like they studied extra film, extra tape, so that they can get the number 1 overall seed. Because right now, with the Patriots win over the Bengals, they are currently 10-2. I know the Patriots haven't played anyone. Are they frauds? Maybe, maybe not. They've got good quarterback play right now. That's all I know. But here's what I also know. There is a way to beat the Patriots. Force them to run the football and throw the football on them. They don't have nearly the good pass defense that the Broncos do. They're good against the run, and they're good at throwing the football. If you could take those things away from them, you'll beat them. Plain and simple. They haven't played anyone worth a damn to actually go out there and have a true tough test of any of the top contenders in the AFC outside of the Buffalo Bills. And even then, I think we all can agree the Buffalo Bills are fraudulent as well. So, pardon me. How excited are you for the back end of the Broncos season? If it's not a 10, I don't know what to tell you. Because I am fired the F up, man. I really am ready to go. It's like a 10 or 11 for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Either way, get down to the comment section down below. Now, we're going to continue on with the other part of the problem area that Sean Payton highlighted, and that's the turnover margin. And believe me when I say this, it's not nearly as bad as you would think. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a second, but first I got to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and the holiday season is upon us, the best time of the year for sports as well. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening right now all at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every single day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. Brand new feature alert. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. If your fantasy season is already over, my team is definitely cooked. But with Prize Picks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every single week by picking your favorite players and win when they hit their projections. Every week, no draft required. Speaking of lineups, I made one for this week as well. Bryce Young, more on the passing yards. Christian McCaffrey, more on the rushing and receiving yards. And then Ted McMillan, the more on the rushing and receiving yards as well. Yours can look like this, doesn't have to. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So this turnover margin that I was talking about, it's not nearly as bad as you think. They do have a -3 turnover differential right now. That's 19th, and you're tied with the Raiders at that number. So you could look at that and go, whoa, that's not good. It's not good, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Why? Because this is the best 3-and-out defense I think I've ever seen. If there's one team that I've watched in the last 15 years to get your offense off the field in 3 plays, it's this Denver Broncos defense. Their pass rush is incredible. They're sticky in coverage. They can cover pretty much every part of the field. And they've got studs absolutely everywhere. So that's the good news. Here's the other good news. It's not like the best teams in the NFL are pulling up massive turnover numbers. Yeah, the Chicago Bears are 8-3, and that's one of their hallmarks, is taking the football away. But look at the Seattle Seahawks. Theirs is -7. They're 8-3. 49ers, 7-4, -5. Panthers, 6-5. They're -4. The Bills have a -2 differential. They're 7-4. Chargers, same thing. So it's not like the turnovers are the end of the world for the Denver Broncos. It also doesn't affect their ability to win multiple games in a row. The Broncos haven't lost in October or November yet. That's crazy. And there's only one other team that can boast the same thing. That team is the New England Patriots. Only the Broncos and the Patriots have not lost a game in November or October in 2025. That doesn't just happen by accident. That is the result of solid defensive and situational football. It really is. So we could sit here and go back and forth about how that part needs to be changed. But honestly, turnovers also feel kind of situational. It's about being in the right position at the right time. If the players feel like in the moment they're at the right place at the right time, they'll force a turnover. But I don't think the Broncos, outside of the penalties, really need to fix anything at this very moment. I really don't think that's the case because they're continuing to be one of the best defenses, the best defense in the NFL without the turnovers. Could you imagine if they were taking the ball over or forcing turnovers? Holy cow. They'd be insane. And then I want to wrap up today's episode by saying one more change the Broncos have made. They've started contract talks with some players around the locker room. In fact, Sean Payton said this himself. He said, George and I, before the break, discussed a number of players that we're going to visit with. We're going to visit with them. The key is not affecting the mojo or how your teams are or how your team is doing. I'm always sensitive to that, especially when you're playing well, because sometimes those can be difficult discussions. There are a few other players that we know we've reached out to already, and I think the key in all of that is the aspect of communication. Well, there's only really about 8 guys that you could be mentioning going into these contract years. JFM, Malcolm Roach, Malcolm Roach, Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad, Luke Wattenberg, J.K. Dobbins, P.J. Locke, and Adam Trautman. Now, you can't pay everybody. So I just want to be very, very upfront about that. Somebody is not going to be played. You can't pay everybody. We know this to be true. There's not enough money to pay every single player. And let's be completely honest. Some players want to chase the bag more than they want to stay on the Broncos. It's just the reality of professional sports. So out of these 8, I've highlighted 4 players that I would must re-sign. It's a must re-sign for Moose. These 4 dudes will be the guys that I go after hard. And I'll mention one of them very briefly. John Franklin Myers has already been kind of told the Broncos aren't really interested in doing a contract negotiation talk with him right now. Maybe that changes in the offseason, but as of right now, we just got the report that the Broncos are not talking about a contract extension with him. He's going to cost too much money. So there is an opportunity where you don't see John Franklin Myers on this team anymore, at least in next year. Is that upsetting? Kind of. I do think he's a must re-sign. I think the continuity that he brings, plus the fact that he's played a whole lot better this year, is just great stuff. So it would be J.K. Dobbins, it would be Malcolm Roach, Alex Singleton, and John Franklin Myers would be my 4 must re-signs out of those 8. Out of those 4, who would I be most interested in re-signing immediately? Probably Roach and probably Dobbins. Those would be my 2 that I go after hard. Malcolm Roach is an unbelievable run plug up the middle. So I would absolutely have him as a re-sign. And then J.K. Dobbins, that doesn't really need explaining. You guys know where I stand on J.K. Dobbins. He's awesome. So before I end today's episode, who is a must re-sign player for the Denver Broncos? If you had to pick one player, just one, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to say J.K. Dobbins. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button, like today's video. Mile high salute to you, and be cool.